One of my first clients was a small Native American tribe, actually where I grew up in Northern California. And they were heavily impacted by one of the large fires last year in Northern California, wiping out their whole fishing industry, and which was the livelihood for this tribe. And because they're so remote, it's on a good day, it's really hard to get to them. There's one way in, one way out. Takes about 90 miles. If you call 911, no one answers because the closest services are 90 miles away. And so they have to be incredibly self-sufficient. And so one of the solutions we thought about is getting a couple of key members trained in using drones and working with the first responder community that's closest to them and they have a relationship with. And so if they are in need of supplies, that they have another option as far as moving supplies back and forth. And, that's not something we would have thought about, a couple of years ago, like using drones and having that in a government hazard mitigation plan. So it's unique. FEMA hasn't signed off on it yet. So I don't know if I can recommend it. If they sign off, I'll say, hey, go ahead and do it. But I really appreciated the opportunity to kind of think about a problem differently.
Well, looking through the end of 2023, what kinds of trending threats to business continuity should organizations be most mindful of?
We're still dealing with a ton of burnout from our employees. It doesn't matter who you work for. We're seeing a huge transition right now from companies and concern, right, of recession or an economic slow turn. And so, but people haven't taken a break. Look, I left, right? I started my own company and we did see a lot of change from that, but so many employees are just still going forward without really thinking about the true impact that COVID had on all of us. And I worry that employers aren't paying enough attention to that. And that if we don't address, like, we work differently now. And we should say that. And it doesn't mean that, we're all going to work virtually forever and all that. You have to have a company policy like that. But just acknowledge that things have changed. We all experience something and that we need to be really proactive in how we think about our employees so we keep them.
Well, with that in mind, how do you stay passionate and motivated in your work today?
For me, it's volunteering. When I went to the conference with the UN in Bali last year, I met this founder of a nonprofit called the Resilience Foundation. He's based in India. And he was part of corporate India before he did this. And he goes to very rural schools throughout India, usually dealing with kind of like, I'd say, elementary school children and teaching them the basics of emergency preparedness, because there's such risk in the rural areas of flash flooding and literally hundreds of kids die each year because of there's just not the planning. There are no first responders. There's just no help or process or plans there to help kind of these smaller, very remote communities. So it's been his mission in life to go out and just teach the basics and teach the kids, who then take it to their parents. And it's really kind of leveraging it. And it's almost started a movement focused on emergency preparedness. So I met this amazing man, Peter, when I was there. And I followed up with him when I got home and said, I want to help. How can I, being, in this tiny little business in America, how can I help this? And so we actually adopted 5 schools last year to sponsor his training and all the trainers and teach the kids. It was close to 300 kids who went through the training and then took it to their families. And then this year we adopted 10 more schools to hopefully kind of, keep building on this, because to me, that's how you get real change, is if you go to the heart of the issue, and maybe it's small, but it's made a huge impact in, halfway around the globe, perfect strangers. But I've been able to help just play a little small piece and maybe helping save a life.
No, that's fantastic. And I think you're right. It's, as we were talking about before, resiliency should not be something you do. It's got to be something you are. You've got to be resilient, because then you can face any situation that gets thrown your way.